12 seconds of white noise. That's the line Ukrainian planners allegedly built the trap around. Here's how they stacked decoys, lasers, and timing to turn that window into a dead tanker over Belarus. Stay with this breakdown as we reconstruct the 4 synchronized impacts, the hose cut that primed the fuel-air explosion, and the final TB204 footage before Russian cannon fire erased the camera, frame by frame, from radar spoof to fireball. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Machalichi looked like a padded room on a radar screen. Crews believed the air was tame, the lanes disinfected by friendly emitters and ground crews who knew the rhythm. What told them a tanker could hang there, hoses out, and no one would reach for it? The cues were routine: a calm scope, tracks aging at a comfortable rate, and a silent phone from ground control. The right answer was also the wrong one. All the signals said proceed. The formation itself reinforced that mindset. 2 IL-78s rotated through a wide racetrack, keeping distance so one could feed while the other loitered. Bomber escorts traced the outer rim, eyes forward, weapons hot but relaxed. Below them, Belarusian batteries tracked and scanned in cycles that never spiked. Overlapping radars made a blanket that should have pushed intruders away. The tankers held steady power, engines trimmed for smooth flow. Flight engineers focused on hose behavior and receiver approach calls. Yet the air picture carried oddities if you knew where to look. Narrow bands of low activity sat like quiet rivers between brighter sectors. Several tracks updated slowly, then stabilized too perfectly, as if the sky itself took a breath and froze. A gap opened where no gap should be, and it stayed open, inviting a refuel arc. Somewhere above the noise floor, a second audience watched without speaking. That audience moved in thin air. High-altitude Leica 100 type drones were shaped to be small on radar and lived where the air is cold and thin. They did not ping or sweep, they orbited. From there, they saw tanker orbits widen, hoses extend, and drogue baskets shimmer in the sun. They clocked the moments when receivers drifted off and the tanker crew reeled in slack, then ran the cycle again. No radio calls needed, no light to betray them. The lure worked because the screen looked normal. Decoy radar signatures behaved like routine Ukrainian surveillance, never poking hard, never climbing the threat ladder. Russian crews saw what they always saw: a harmless set of ghosts that came and went at predictable ranges, fading before they mattered. The refuel arc stayed clean. That created habit. Habit created assurance. Tracking did not rely on a single eye. Altitude and aspect gave the drones long sightlines, and passive sensors did the rest. With long baseline triangulation, they turned tiny shifts in angle into position. Thermal contrast spelled out where power changed, where a pump kicked, where an engine spooled a touch to stabilize a basket. A hose trailing at refuel speed throws a different heat signature than one wound tight. Those differences mapped the cycle. The night before, a dry run answered the timing questions. The orbit length settled into a number. The average interval from hose trail to first contact lined up to the second engine spool's left timestamps. Escorts widened their ring at repeatable distances, then slid back in when the flow stopped. Every habit got a line in a log. Over it all, an electronic mask hummed along. Automated radar response logic echoed Belarusian patterns, so any probe gave back the same kind of echo the crews expected to see. No spike, no glitch, no false alarm. Ground stations saw a quiet screen and did nothing. Air crews saw the same quiet and kept cycling. That is why a $250 million formation felt safe. The sky looked friendly. Radar returns fit the playbook. The refuel path stayed sterile. At the same time, cold, high ghost drones used those assumptions as a hiding place, collecting the timing and the tells without showing their hand. The trap was set, and now timing became the only variable left to solve, because the next move had to land inside a 12-second blackout that lined up with a refuel window measured in tenths. How do you turn a flash in the sky into a dead tanker and a burning refuel cloud? You start by stealing time. The formation settles into its groove. Hoses trailed, bombers rotating through, tankers locked at steady thrust, and Ukrainian planners pop a rim to at 17,000 feet straight above the lead IL-78. The warhead splits its job. 200 tungsten fragments seed the air with clutter while a localized EMP floods cockpits and radars with white noise displays wash out. Radios glitch. Crews go deaf and blind for exactly 12 seconds. And that silence is the signal to attack. 12 seconds is short. The contact between probe and drogue can sit inside a fraction of that. Russian crews reach for manual overrides and backup modes while escorts widen and try to build a wall. It's already late. Laser designators have metal and geometry. The tankers are steady. The receivers are fixed on the basket. The window opens, and the strike sequence runs on a clock that someone measured the night before to the second. Step 1 is crude on purpose. Cut the umbilical. May ML rounds slash the fueling hose so the line doesn't drip. It atomizes. Fuel vents as a misted cloud, drifting with the slipstream, pooling where pressure gradients hold it. Step 2 pulls focus to where heat and vapor meet. Laser painting locks the nacelles on the lead IL-78 and the junction where the cloud thickens near the wing root. Those dots aren't random. They're the places that turn chemistry into a chain reaction. The physics is ugly but simple. A live hose under pressure won't produce big drops when it fails. It shreds fuel into fine particles. In that state, the mix needs only the right spark and the right ratio to become a fuel-air charge. Do it too early and you get a flare. Do it too late and the cloud thins out. Hit the timing and the air itself carries the shock front. Precision separates a leak from an overpressure that peels metal. Now the four-part strike comes together. One missile chops the hose. A second punches the port nacelle to kill thrust and start a yaw. A third hits the starboard side to force asymmetric power the crew can't trim in time. The fourth is the finisher, riding the laser into the densest vapor and turning mist into a blast. Those first 3 mammal impacts land inside a fraction of a second at 002830. The fourth, fired by TB-204, arrives 0.8 seconds after the bomber's probe makes contact. The sequence ensures the cloud is primed, the engines are wounded, and the ignition lands while the EMP still smothers the picture. Electronic blindness cuts more than pilot vision. Ground batteries lose cueing. AWACS relays choke on noise. Any staggered countermeasure fails when impacts stack within sub-second gaps. Crews can't correlate threats they can't see, and by the time sensors reboot, the geometry has collapsed. TB-204 records the proof. Its feed shows the hose snap, the quick wink of hits on both nacelles, and a cone of orange pushing up from the wing. The frame shakes as a Russian cannon rips a lane across the sky, then the video jerks and dies. No more telemetry. The lead IL-78 doesn't burn long, it comes apart. The second tanker bleeds fuel and staggers, trying to clear the area with escorts peeling back to cover the bomber's brake rhythm. The refuel chain buckles, not for days, but for months. Because the loss isn't just airframes, it's reach. With the tankers gone, range shrinks. Now every deep strike needs a new plan, a longer route, or it stops at the edge of what the wings can carry without that airborne fuel. A 0.8-second opening, magnified by a 12-second blackout, wiped reach from the map. Operation Hose Sniper 2.0 showed how a synchronized kill chain turns a tiny timing flaw into a collapsed refuel spine. When every handoff, sensor, shooter, and spark lands in order, an air campaign fades without a dogfight. If you want more frame-by-frame breakdowns of complex strikes and the tech that makes them work, tell us which system to dissect next. Drone swarms, laser gates, or radar masks. Your pick. So what doctrine follows when drones, lasers, and electronic fog cut a superpower's range to 400 miles overnight? The answer starts with timing.